Hey everyone, we're here with Adam. Guess what? Adam's with Dark Meditation. You guys should really check them out. Super, super cool fucking band that have this predominantly like traditional heavy metal sound with other elements like brought in. It's really fucking awesome. The new album, Where the Darkness Bleeds. Sorry, I had to look at my fucking little thing. Where the Darkness Bleeds is coming out 3/21 on their label, which is Carry on the Gloom Records. I like that.
Got it. Yeah. Hey, it's
Hell
some
yeah.
Northwest stuff. We're under this perpetual gray cloud, so it kind of follows us wherever we go.
Hell yeah. You guys are you right in Seattle?
Yeah, we're all pretty much, well, yeah, essentially, and some skirts of it. It's the city itself has become really expensive to live in. It's one of the highest in the country, and so we've all gotten a little bit as people have bought houses or done whatever, spread out some. But our practice space is still right downtown. We meet up with each other every week there. So and I'm like right on the edge, technically, like on the very edge before I leave. So still there a little bit.
Right on. My wife and I went to Seattle in 16,
Oh, cool.
and we had a great time, and we lucked out, dude. The weather was fucking perfect the
What
whole
time
time.
of the year did you come in?
July.
The summers here. The well-kept secret is we got about 3 months where it's like perfect weather, amazing. And then
Yeah.
9 rainy, cloudy, cold, like you get a good 3, 4 months of just like, so you can't
Uh,
get
we absolutely did. It was like so cool. Like back then I drank, so like we'd get up, we'd go have brunch, and then we like one day we went to it's Numos on Capitol Hill. We fucking bar hopped all day to get up there, and I was so trashed by the time. I was like, no.
were you staying downtown? And
Yeah,
then,
we were right on the harbor,
okay,
like
cool.
the Marriott on the harbor.
Yeah, yeah, no, exactly. That's perfect. Yeah, you go up the hill. There's plenty of bars to hit on the way all the way up there.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, it
did
was a
you see
good
the show
time.
at Nemo's?
Yeah, Inter Harma was there.
Oh, killer. Cool. Yeah, our last show we played there 2 weeks ago. And it was a good one.
Hell
I
yeah.
had some friends, a long-standing band from Seattle called Sandrider that used to be guys in this band called Akimbo, which kind of like a post-hardcore thing. But Sandrider's kind of like classic Seattle sound, just heavy. Anyway, they're kind of like an institution here, been around for 15, 16 years, and the main guy was just moving to LA. So we had their big going away show, and it was a lot of fun. Great venue. So yeah.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that was a cool place. There was another other venue. I don't remember the name of it, but I feel like it's closed since then. Used to do a lot of like metal shows. I don't
Right.
know.
Unfortunately, we've had a bunch. There was the Comet that was right across the street from there, which was like the classic dive bar in Seattle that had like punk shows and stuff going back to like the early 80s. And it was like where everybody played and everything. And then it's still there, but in name only. They got rid of the show area and like some rich investor people bought it and just
Yeah.
kept the sign, but totally changed the rest of it. You know how that shit goes. So it was like, but. I don't know, but there used to be a million of them all around, and some keep popping up and down, but it's not quite what it used to be. I'd say probably UK, like right around like 2013 or so is when a lot of the tech money and everything really started pouring in, and everything kind of started getting torn down. Cities started changing. Same old story everywhere, but
Yeah. Everywhere, it's all this change, and it sucks, because you get so used to a landscape, or like
sure.
one of those clubs that is just like the cornerstone of whatever music scene. Someone comes in and says, "Oh, we're gonna increase rent, or we're gonna fucking get rid of you," and you're like, "No."
And I mean, that translates into that's the thing is like it pushes out a lot of the creative class of people, like all the musicians, artists, things like that could live in the city and it was affordable and it could contribute to the communities. Just like, just kind of pulls out the rug from everybody. And that's kind of what I was saying, that everybody just starts being pushed to the outskirts, to a different place. Like there's a city south of us called Tacoma, and like everybody's been going down there, but now the same process is starting down there. Just it's kind of a never ending sort of game of whack.
Yeah. But so you can take a ferry to Tacoma, right?
No, that's Tacoma's still on the I-5 corridor.
Okay.
but then there's Bremerton and a bunch of
That's
different islands and cities across the land that all the fairies go to,
yeah.
which also have their own little scenes and stuff like that. So it's cool, but it's not quite as consolidated in one area.
Yeah. Makes for some interesting travel, I'm sure. Like,
So, it does allow you, at least you can do kind of like a mini tour in your own. You can hit up different cities, and there will be different people in each one. So you're not
yeah.
just the same group of people follow you if they feel like it or nobody show up. So
Yeah, that's cool.
yeah.
So what was the catalyst for this new album? Like when you guys started writing, did you have like a direction or a goal in mind?
This one was kind of so we had our debut album that came out in 2022 called Polluted Temples, and like this was we went through a lineup change, which is our bass player moved away. He had to go back to Colorado to help out some family, and we were auditioning new people, and we kind of had a handful of songs left over from the session of the first record. And then we were like, oh, let's just like put out an EP, like while we're waiting, getting new people, writing new songs and stuff. But then the songs kind of just started changing from the initial, what they first were, and it became kind of their own thing. And then we wrote some more songs for it. And then kind of noticed, since I'm the singer and lyricist, I was like, oh, all these songs kind of have a similar theme through them that like I didn't quite realize during the time, but when they all got put together, and I was like, oh, they all kind of deal with like this like pursuit of like love or lust or things that you're like going after in your life, and then like the finality of it, like an endpoint, and it kind of dealt with the idea of the moment of death in either like life or just in things in your life, and then what the immediate after effects are of that in like a story way. And then so like they came together in that, and then the guitar player Ryan, or one of our guitar players Ryan, like he had these side like kind of instrumental songs, and we like realized like this kind of fits in with these, and it could be bookend. So it's like we kind of came up with this whole concept in like mini LP kind of thing. So it's like to us, it's like it's not another full length record, but it's like a little more than an EP because it's like 24 minutes long. So it's
Yeah.
like and it's like there's a thematic thing that all goes together with it. So that's where it all kind of came together. And then, in hindsight, we realized it was like kind of this cohesive thing. And then kind of came up with this, and that's like where the title is, where the darkness bleeds, is kind of that idea of like as the light fades away, in death or at the end of a day or something like that, as it's bleeding in, and like what that transitional point is in a way. So that's where how that all kind of ties in together.
Yeah, that's cool. Like it seems to like really worked out because it's, where the darkness bleeds is it's good from start to finish. Like, and I don't mean like, yeah, it's okay. Like it's fucking good.
Thank you.
I listened to the 22 release earlier today, and I'm
Yeah,
like, holy shit. I wish I'd have heard this when it first came out because it like you guys have a sound that I enjoy that I will listen to more than just, oh yeah, I listened to this album. It was fucking
yeah, yeah.
cool. And be like, no, dude, like you guys need to listen to this because it's fucking cool as shit, you
Thank
know?
you. Yeah, try that's a focus is try to get on the songwriting aspect of it to, make it a little bit memorable or come back to it in a way. And kind of like you're saying, like earlier, like we take a lot of influences. Like I would say the bass line is just like classic heavy metal in a way, but like we also take a good chunk from kind of like some like goth rock and death rock kind of stuff, and then I say, I mean, a lot of people probably don't quite hear it, but like there's a little bit of black metal in there to me, but it would be like the very first, as it was first forming, like bands like Merciful Fate or Celtic Frost or a little bit of Bathory or Venom, like that kind of like our darkness, but that was still
Yeah.
kind of like rock and roll at the same time too. So it was before it got into the whole version that we know now, but what the foundational of it is, I would say, in a way. So it's like just trying to mix all those things together, but also keep it like pretty in that core, like the
Like
listenability
traditional
and
space.
songwriting of heavy metal and like that sort of thing. And I don't think we can escape, since we're all Seattle guys, that like there's a touch of that sound in there
Yeah.
too. And like just we were in elementary school when all that stuff was popping up, so it was like foundational when we first started picking up instruments and all that
Oh
too.
yeah. Like, and
So
there's no, being right there, there's no getting away from it.
no, exactly. You know,
There's, yeah,
it's
that
still, even if you turn on the radio here, it's still all the time. Like,
yeah,
even if you're in between doing something, it's, or any bar you go to or anything, it's still, and hey, I still have a soft spot. I still love Alice in Chains and some of that stuff, so it's like, that's okay.
yeah. No, me too. That's actually why we went to Seattle. We got married in 2016, and this is so fucking stupid. I wanted to go to Japan like for our honeymoon. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's where we'll fucking go. It'll be great. And she's like, she goes behind my back and gets Seattle. She goes, I got something you'll like. And I'm like, we're going to fucking Japan. This is gonna be great. She goes, we're going to Seattle. And I was like, on the way to Japan, like that'll be fucking cool. And she's like,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
we're like stopping in Seattle. And I'm like cool, but shit.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Um,
It's not. I mean, it's still America, so it's not
yeah,
going to be any sort of crazy cultural, like, and but
yeah, but
I
dude,
yeah,
such a rich like musical history, in Seattle. Like, and that's why she actually did it because my entire life is surrounded with fucking music. So we did what did we do? There was this lady, I don't remember her name, I don't remember the name of the thing, but it was like this tour, you
yeah.
come in, pay her $50, she drives you around in her van. This is
Oh,
where
cool. Yeah.
so and so is. So we did that, that big cement like circle where Mother Love Bone did some like promo pictures.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think everyone does. So she took us by there. We went, of course, went by Kurt Cobain's fucking
Yes, it's
house,
a really
and
cool place. Yeah,
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 and
Lake Washington, and
yeah,
yeah,
and
you go to Jimi Hendrix's grave or anything like that.
we actually did Bruce Lee's grave.
Okay, yeah,
We did the Hendrix statue.
that's true. Cool.
What else did we do? Oh, we went to Pearl Jam's like first rehearsal space, like we're
Yeah,
in.
they just got rid of that a couple of years ago. So luckily, right before.
I know I've got a fucking, that dude was a blacksmith, and so we got he took railroad spikes and made
Sure. Yeah.
bottle openers out of. Like, yeah, I'll fucking buy one. That's a good
Oh,
little
that's
like,
that's a good one. Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. Did you go to the Central Saloon downtown in Trainer Square?
Uh, we did. What did we do? We did a lot of different.
Yeah, and that was that was like one of the clubs that like everybody played back in the day, and it's
Yeah.
actually one of the few left that still has bands playing now and like connected to that time, So it's a cool place to check.
Now that's like heading towards the stadiums, right? Like if
Yeah, it's an area called Pioneer Square. So it's
yeah,
like right before you hit the stadiums and stuff, right
yeah.
near the International District, Chinatown, and stuff like that. Yeah,
We were definitely there then for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. It's a cool spot. Cool, man. Yeah, that's right. I mean, yeah, not quite as exotic as going to Japan or Tokyo. You could still, you could have a good time.
It's cool that she was like, hey, like you're never gonna actually do this yourself, so I'm gonna kind of force that on you. And as much as I wanted to go to Japan, like that was just it was a really cool fucking trip.
Yeah, she's thinking about you too, so
Yeah.
it's a good woman.
Oh, she's like the best thing that ever happened to me. I'll say that till the day I fucking die.
Really.
Hell yeah. So you guys are doing vinyl, which is
Oh
beautiful.
yeah, got to. It's not real until it's on vinyl.
That's the truth.
That's yeah. So it's funny because when we started back in like 2019 or so, it's obviously like right before the pandemic. And me and two of the guys, the two guitar players, Ian and Ryan, like we've been in bands together forever, on and off. And we kind of like reconvened. Ian had been living in New York and he came back and we were like, let's do a new project and just started in the baseline of this thing, but take all whatever influences we want out of it and just however it turns out is how it turns out, kind of, and we recorded a demo, and then 2020 kind of hit, and then everything went, kind of, we were actually gearing up to play our very first show. We got a full lineup. We got our buddy Will, who just joined on drums at that time, and he's actually the one that recorded this record for us. He's a killer engineer, and we were getting everything going, and we put a demo out online, and then a friend of ours named Michael Freiberger, he like started this label called Satanic Royalty, and was like, hey, I love your demo, and he got all this backing, and he was like, I just want to put out your record. And we were like, killer. So like we got this studio time set up with Matt Bayless, who is a pretty big producer who did a bunch of stuff with like Mastodon and The Sword and did stuff with Soundgarden
So,
and big list of stuff. And so he like got all that going, and we are like, wow, this is all going together. And then it was like, boom, pandemic hit, and then everything just kind of stopped, you know. So we did our first record and recorded before we ever even played a show, which is like, you know, kind of crazy in that way. But yeah, he put out all the vinyl for that, and that was cool. And then with this one, we were like, oh, we were kind of talking with him, but he was kind of doing some other stuff, and we were going to use it to shop around. And like, we're like, you know, this is like an in between thing, and we're working on a new record, a new full length anyway. So why don't we just put this one out ourselves? Like, we have a couple of like, we're going to be playing this festival, Hell's Heroes, in a couple of weeks down in Texas, like this big metal festival.
yeah, you're playing with my friends in Savage Master.
Oh, hell yeah. Cool. I know Adam a little bit. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Old bands played with the Hookers a few times, you know. So
I feel like everyone's played with the fucking hookers, you know?
plus, they had a real big lineup where they had guys from Vancouver, BC playing with them. So they were out in this area, you know, back probably around 2016 or so, maybe a little earlier, where they were hanging out in the Northwest, or at least he was hanging out in the Northwest, you know. So, but yeah, what's up, Adam? So we actually played our first show back with the girl who joined our band, Rachel. Our first show was with Savage Master after about a year hiatus. That was cool. But
Hell yeah.
it's funny because she joined the band, we played that show, and then we went and played a string of shows in this big festival in Mexico, and it was kind of like a trial by fire for her. Like, you know, you get one show before we go, like, here we go. Get back to the thing, the vinyl for these records. We just were like, you know, like, we want to get this out, and we're just going to press like 100 copies, and we're going to have it for this festival and like some local shows, and there'll be a couple online. So if you're into it, like, get it, because this is going to be it's good. It's a special press this one time, just like this, and then maybe it will be re-released if, you know, we join a new label, or like how we transition in with the next record, or what we're going to do from there. So it's like, but we wanted to, like, you know, make this one real ourselves, so we just, you know,
Hell yeah.
record and label, and yeah, put them out.
I always like it when bands like take it upon themselves to do that, you know, to put out their own vinyl because it's I think for a fan, you never know what's going to happen with the band. You know,
Yeah,
that next album might absolutely fucking explode. You know,
sure.
like, you know, looking at the Seattle scene, look at like Nirvana, you
Yeah,
know, they did that first pressing of Bleach, which was like white, and you can't get one of those for probably under like 6 or 7 thousand right now.
yeah. It's crazy. So, so yeah, you never know. You might be getting some crazy collector
Yeah.
if you're in on the ground floor.
It's the best fucking part, dude.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
hell yeah. So, like with you guys going to play Hell's Heroes, is your plan just to fly down there, play, and then fly home?
Yeah, like we were talking about doing a few dates around while we were down there, but it's just like we have friends in this band called Scorpion Child who are in Austin, and we talked with maybe doing a couple days with them, and then there's a tour going through with The Witcher from Portland and this band Death Chant from LA, and like we know some of those guys and their booking agent, and we talked with them, and we could have jumped on a couple there, but it was just like, you know, we get free festival passes and get to hang out and have a place to stay. And like, it was just like, so we'd have to rent gear or share gear. And then, cause all the gear is provided at the fest, and then rent transportation. And then, you know, the thing is like, you know, this festival is that whole week down there. So like all these people from Texas are going there. And then you have multiple bands coming in from that festival that are trying to do dates around too. So you have all this competition going on at every city outside of Houston all at the same time. And it was like, I don't know if it's really worth it in the end to try to like get on these shows, how many people will be there, spend the money to do it all. And if we get recouped and then miss all the festival. And so it was like, you know, like, why don't we just make it kind of a vacation thing, play, go and hang out, and then see some friends, see some killer bands, and just, you know, have a good time.
I think that's really smart, you know, because you're right. Like if you guys go down there and grab another band and say, "Oh, we're gonna go play a few shows," will
Yeah,
the outcome be for the band? You're in a better scenario with all of those fans looking for that already right there.
exactly. You know, that's what I mean. I was like, man, if I lived in, you know, San Antonio or Dallas or Austin, I would, if I was a metalhead, I'm going to go down to this for the week. Like, why would I stay in my, you know, like, you know, unless they
Yeah.
just really do it. But feel like that's where the majority of the people are going to be going.
I absolutely agree. It's cool. Like, and I fucking love Death Chant, dude. Like, that's one of
Oh,
those
yeah,
bands. So fucking good. I'm like, Jesus Christ.
I know that's some interesting.
Yeah. Buck, who else is on that on the Hell's Heroes bill?
Man, there's so much. It's crazy looking at that. You know who I'm like really like this is, Danzig and Sam Hain are a big influence on this band. And then so like John Christ is doing his own solo set, but I think he's got like a Danzig winger, like singing for a singer. So I'm pretty excited to check. I'm like curious and excited to check that out. And then there's like classic, Saxon and Riot and all these big older heavy metal bands like that. And then I'm excited to see the Abath like Immortal set,
Yeah.
and like I like a lot of black metal stuff too. So like Spectral Wound is playing, and like there's something all day, every day going on.
Hell yeah. It'll be a good fucking time, man. I'm sure you're gonna walk away from there going, one, I'm absolutely exhausted, and two, this fucking set was like
Yeah.
out of the,
I mean, knock on wood. I hope so. So yeah, but yeah, that's the plan.
fuck yeah. Are you guys taking stickers and shit to like pass out?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So we'll be doing some promotion, and luckily we got a buddy too coming down to just do merch and do all that sort of stuff for us and help us out. So like, we'll be able to spend our own time going out and doing things. So like, yeah, it should be pretty good. And I have an old friend who's from here, and then he's lived down there forever. So I'm excited to hang out with him and see him. So it's like, I think it'll be a good time
Hell
for
yeah.
sure.
So with the set, are you planning on like mixing between the first album and the new album? Like
Yeah,
mixing
we
the
did
set?
three from the new and four from the old. So that's about. We have a little over 30 minutes. That's you don't get a crazy long set. So it's like that. And then in our live show, we have like kind of like soundscape and samples and stuff like that that come in and out of everything. So like we had to like trim and retime and do all that to get it just right. But yeah, we did the set plus a couple at that last show we played, and we felt good about it. So we're just gonna hit it a few more times before we go down, and then hopefully tear it up and make some new fans. So
I think you're gonna fucking tear it up and you're gonna make some new fans.
thank you, thank you.
Nothing else. You get to see your fucking friends. Like,
Yeah, exactly. A bunch of other kids.
yeah.
It'll be a good time for sure.
Yeah, I really like that what they do with Hell's Heroes. Like they fucking, I feel like every year there's so many bands on it. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah, it just keeps getting bigger and bigger. It's like it's funny because for how big America is, we don't have anything near like the festival culture like in Europe where all those metal fests are going like all summer long, and you can travel from one northern Europe all the way down to Spain or whatever and hit go to 50 of them across like a 3 month period or
But
whatever.
we're getting there, dude. I mean, like DWP has got five, six fucking festivals now with what do they got? Sonic Temple, Louder
Oh
Than
yeah,
Life,
true. Yeah, yeah.
Infestation, Welcome to Rockville, Aftershock. Then there's like Not Fest, and then of course Hell's Heroes
Yeah.
and 2 Minutes
Yeah.
to Tulsa,
Yeah.
Maryland Death.
We have in our area, which is actually getting bigger and bigger. It's called Northwest Terror Fest, and that's growing too. So like we're playing that this year too. So like that's. So yeah, you're right. It's getting there. It's getting there. Too bad we don't have like a bunch of sick rail trains that run everywhere. Tree.
Yeah, that would be too fucking easy.
Yeah. Yeah. But
One day though.
I hope so.
Yeah, so do I, because it would make it, I think it would make it so much easier if we had like a really good fucking like train system to
Yeah,
crisscross the country.
I mean, I think there's a lot of politics involved in that, why we don't, and auto industries and things like that. But one can hope. So
Yeah, with
actually,
politics and everything here.
there's money to be made. So
Yeah, fuck all those people. God, I'm so over the whole political
yeah,
bullshit.
I don't want to get derailed too far.
No, no, me neither. But I like, yeah, fuck that. So, is there a song on Where the Darkness Bleeds that sticks out to you as like your favorite to play, or one that you lean towards more than another?
I really like kind of the title track. It's called Bleeding Darkness, and it's like the more like kind of slower, like I would say it's kind of like a Danzig kind of style song or something in that world. And like we've noticed like live, like we'll kind of play like a few rippers and then it will like transition and we have like a whole like sampling and like soundscapey and synth thing that kind of builds and works into it and the guitars go and it usually gets a pretty good and it's a cool like morphing song that starts slow and builds and gets heavier and like encapsulates like a lot of different moods within it in a way. And so like I've been really enjoying that one live and like I like that one on the record. I like the opening. I really like the opening and closing songs, which are kind of like instrumentally like weird, like they're a little different and like those were fun to like record and kind of come up with. But out of the main songs, I'd say the Bleeding Darkness is probably my favorite, and then the song that opens the record and we made a little video for called I Am the Hunter. That one's pretty cool too. Like.
Yeah, they're all pretty rippers. I lean towards like Call of the Beast or Call to the Beast. That's it's so fucking
Yeah.
good.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah. I mean, it's funny because we got like a really heavy hitter drummer, and like that was like for him, he was like, all right, man, I gotta go on full double bass with this. And he was like, he refuses to use triggers or any of that sort of stuff, like it's all like gotta be 100% natural. And he's like a Bonham kind of Dave Grohl type drummer. So he's got, he's super heavy hitter and just like has to be all in on it. So he was like, all right, we're good. I got to make sure I get this one up to snuff if we're going to be playing it out live. But he's been killing it lately. So we actually played it live for the first time at this last show. So we'll be busting it out at Hell's Heroes. And
Fuck,
I'm
I got you guys
curious
got
to
to
see
get out
how
here
that
to
will.
Kentucky. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. I'd love to get out there. We're planning, I think, at maybe something probably a year from now because we're in the process of another record and stuff, trying to do an East Coast thing. So I think that would be on the list if we can make it happen. So.
Perfect timing for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's so much around here. I'm going to ask you before we go any further, how long do you have? Because I know you're on a work thing.
Oh yeah, I could go probably another good like 15 minutes or so. Yeah,
Sweet.
yeah,
I just don't want to fucking keep you too long. I know that was part of it. It's like, this is work. Fuck them.
yeah. I'm a boss. It's okay.
Oh, good for you. Yes. So when you guys put this together, like it was just like a hey, let's get together and play some music kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it was that, and like I said, like we were in a variety of different bands for a while, and then we kind of took a break. Like all of us kind of split, and like did some live stuff, and like. But then and I gotta say, particularly one of the guitar players named Ryan in the band, me and him have like kind of like been together as like a writing partnership and band partnership since we were like in high school. So this is like our fifth band that we've done, or sixth band, something like that. And so like we kind of and like we were living in different places, and then we came back and we were only a few blocks away from each other. And then of course we started hanging out, listening to records, and drinking whiskey or whatever. And then like we were like, man, maybe we should like do something again. And then the other guy that helped write a lot of stuff that we were in a band with, like I was saying, he was out in New York, but he came back, and then it was just kind of like, all right, let's do this. And before this band, like we were kind of more me and Ryan, we were like our background is we kind of came from like the hardcore punk world, like and like when we were younger. And so we kind of went back to doing this band. It was called OSS, and it was kind of like early black metal, but also with like D-beat hardcore punk, and like and there's like more extreme. And we did that for a few years, and it went over pretty good, but it kind of just split apart at the end. And so when we got back together, we were like, man, let's kind of go to like our baseline of things here. And we were just talking about like I said, like Danzig and Merciful Fate and like Pentagram and Trouble and like these kind of bands like that were all like thrown around, and it was just like and then but then I was also so because like vocally like I'm no Rob Halford or anybody with like that higher like pitched like metal kind of like classic metal voice or whatever. And I was like, for me, I'm like more of in this baritone kind of range. And so singers that I love, like I was saying, were like Danzig or, like Ian Astbury from the Cult, and like, or Paul Di'Anno, like first singer of Iron Maiden, like in that sort of world. Or even like, I love a lot of like goth rock stuff, like Fields of the Nephilim and Killing Joke and, Sisters of Mercy. And like all those vocalists to me were like, that's more with what, I feel comfortable trying to go after. So like that element was kind of thrown into to like mix in that. And then also like just like concept and lyrically, like we didn't want to be like I'm not super into like the fantasy side of like, either dragons or whatever, or like that element of metal, which I love. There's nothing wrong with that or anything, but just like everything that I write kind of comes from a personal place, even if there's a twist of a story to it or something like that. And so it was like
Yeah.
that kind of world mixing with that just made more sense when our baseline kind of came together. And so it all kind of just started kind of working out of that as our initial, starting place.
Yeah. I mean, you're not trying to be Ronnie James Dio.
Yeah, I mean, there is only one. So,
That's the fucking truth. Yeah. But
yeah,
like, and it's funny. Like what a vocalist that dude was for his
it's, yeah,
5'1" stature or whatever it was. Like,
yeah. That the
holy
whole thing, he could belt like that.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Those those are some of my favorites though. You look at someone and you're like, not being a dick, but you're like they might be good, and then they fucking blow your mind. You're like,
Oh yeah. I mean, that's what makes it even more, like
yeah,
it's just like funny, like, you might see the guy who's either smaller or whatever, and then all of a sudden he's like the one that's like an speed or whatever. And it's just like, hey, you never know. Images can be deceiving. It's
for sure.
why they say don't judge the book by the cover.
So what band for you like that you saw live when you went, you were like, I mean, that'll be okay, but they absolutely blew your mind.
There's been so many of those.
I
So
love
it's
that.
like, I say the most recent one just because it's sticking out in my mind, and this is funny because it's not metal, like, but the punk band, the Dwarves,
Oh yeah.
and they're getting a little bit older, and like I loved them back when I was like when I was like a punk kid and into. And I had friends band. They opened for them on like a Friday night in a bar up here and like in city north of Seattle called Everett. And I had like no expectations out of it. It was like I was going to go support my friend's band and just have a couple beers and hang out. And like they just put on like an incredible show, and the energy level was so high. And he was like such a great frontman, and they sounded so good, and they got this whole place going crazy. And it was like, very surprising to me, like how well it all came together in that sort of way. Like, when I had like no expectations, and it like far exceeded it. So
That's so awesome. Like, and those are, I feel like those are where you're like, my money was so fucking well spent tonight because that show, absolutely blew any notion that I might have had coming in here.
totally. And I just thought about this. I went last week. I saw the Cavalera brothers doing the
Oh
early
yeah.
Cavalera stuff, and that was sounding incredible. Like it was so good. Like so, if anybody out there, if they're still out there going around, or when they come back around together again, definitely go see it. Like you won't be disappointed. It really captured that. You could close your eyes and it felt like them in their like prime. I think
Oh,
early '90s kind of period before they were more groovy records, but when they were still just straight up thrashing, like it was like okay, man, yeah, they brought it. So that was cool
they're
too.
in they're in Indianapolis tonight, actually.
Really? Oh, damn.
Yeah, I'm like, man, if my schedule was just a little different, I'd 100% go.
Yeah,
Um,
they're not coming out to
no,
Louisville.
they won't be in Louisville. Generally, like if they're not hitting Louisville, they're going to be like Cincinnati or Indianapolis or Chicago or Nashville.
Okay. So,
Yeah, so I'm like, sucks because that was my daughter's first metal show was Max and Igor doing the Return to Roots tour.
yeah, hell yeah, nice.
Yeah, like of course, these two fucking icons playing this, fucking roots, bloody roots.
Yeah,
And the cool thing, she always felt like an outcast. So I'm like, come on, you'll have a good time. We literally walked in and everyone in that fucking place were like, you're the coolest fucking kid. She's there with like her blue hair. Local openers are like signing drumsticks and giving her CDs and shit. And she's like,
that's so cool to hear.
yeah, she's like, this is so fucking cool. I'm like, yeah, this is I, this is why I brought you because no one here they love that you're different.
Yeah,
We
that's
that's what we
that. I mean, that's always like the misconception, that there's always like metalheads or whatever, these subculture groups of people are like, super mean or like, they're scary to be around. And it's like, usually you will find like the most accepting, open, stoked people because it's like all of us are usually outcasts in one way
yeah.
or another too. And that's why we found this thing, because something in the real in society and in the real world in a way didn't make sense. And you were like, I need to go deeper. I need to find something outside of this, you know? And that's why it's like these things all kind of exist to begin with. And so most of the people I know exactly the same way, you know, they'll be so pumped to have like, you know, younger people come in, different people like, yo, like this is for everybody. Like, you know, come be a part of this. Like, you
Yeah,
know, you got to keep it alive and keep it growing too, you know? So it's
that's
like,
it, man. And if we're
yeah.
not, if we're afraid to take our kids to it, then what the fuck are we doing?
No, exactly. You know,
You
and
know?
that's the whole. Yeah, we're like doing a record release show in June, and like I specifically got it at an all ages place just to
Oh
be
yeah.
able to make sure because I'm like, you know, we play for all you old fuckers all the time. Like, let's, you know, and you can always tell the energy level too because kids are just so pumped, like, you know, to be there, to be a part of it, and they're not just thinking about, you know, being seen and or like getting drunk, like, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know and that's not everybody, but you know how it is. Like it's
Yeah, dude, the coolest thing, there's a Indianapolis has got Black Circle, which is it's like in my mind, it's the venue to go to in Indianapolis.
okay.
Like that's where Cavalier is playing tonight.
Okay, you know, I go to Indianapolis. I work in the gaming industry, and I go to this convention there called Gen Con almost every
Oh
year.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and I usually it's funny because whenever I'm there, I don't have a lot of time, but I have evenings free sometimes. And I look and I'm like, I went to like some goth nights, some random. I saw a Metallica cover band there one time, like, and like we were sitting
Was it the Four Horsemen?
trying to remember. I can't remember. You
So
know, off the top of my head.
they are like right now, they are like this region's like Metallica cover band.
I think it was them. I do think it was them because they were killing. They were great. It was a great. It was probably 5 or 6 years ago. Someone
Yeah.
crazy, maybe like 7, 8 years ago. But as time goes as we get older, right?
Oh
But
yeah. And so they've been doing it, I think almost 20 years at this point.
yeah, okay, I'm pretty sure that was who it was. And they rolled. It was a great time.
Yeah.
But every time I go back there, I'm always trying to think of like, well, can I catch a show tonight? Is there going to be something going on? So that's good to know that's the spot.
Yeah, dude, definitely like Black Circle. Keep an eye on what they have going on. When I say it's the fucking place to go, they've got Baroness on their Red and Blue tour. They're probably like doing what 1,000, 1,500 seat venues. Black Circle, I don't think is more than 200 or
Oh,
250, and they fucking playing there.
yeah, okay, yeah, yeah, that's gonna be that's
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah. I'm like, oh, I got to get my fucking tickets to
yeah,
that. So
certainly sells out for sure.
yeah, so just like that's the fucking spot that I would tell you to keep an eye on because it's, I think the people that own it are like they're musicians and in bands, right? So there's always something going on there.
Yeah, cool. Hell yeah.
Fuck yeah. Okay. I think that's our 15 minutes.
Cool. All right,
Adam,
man. Yeah.
dude, thank you for taking time out of your busy work schedule to come hang out and bullshit with me.
Oh yeah. Thank you, Tom. Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it. And thanks for checking out the record. And I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Hell yeah, dude. We'll go and have yourself a great day.
You as well. Cheers, man.
Thanks. See ya.